Ooh, one from the YouTube comments again. One time, I made a Shadow Sorcerer Rogue multi-class. He was a really small guy, barely 5 feet tall, while wearing... Oh. Am I a small guy? Anyway, yeah, small guy wearing 4 goth platformer boots, borderline malnourished half-elf that was still in his edgy teenager phase. He was like 19 and was known for dealing cold damage. Another player got fed up with his character and decided to make a wizard, describing him as an actual child. Usually a no-no for that group. He wanted the PC to be like 8 years old, but settled for 15. Shorter than my character by 2 inches and had an elemental adept affinity that specifically specialized in cold damage. He basically made a character that was all my character's main traits amplified. Younger, shorter, even more cold damage, etc. He looked so smug about it.
He does exactly what I do.
But shorter. A session later, we leveled up to a level where I could take an ASI or a feat, so I increased my dexterity by 2 for the sake of using better rogue features. I thought it would be funny to describe it flavor-wise as him ditching his chunky and impractical shoes he was wearing. That guy was absolutely gobsmacked when my character rolls up to the party, now 2 inches shorter than his. He chose that height, forgetting about my character's shoes I described multiple times, and he was pissed he was no longer the smallest guy. Not to brag or anything, but whenever I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm always the shortest guy there. It doesn't actually bother me. I think it's pretty funny, but the fact that this guy was competing for it is kind of, well, it's not the kind of measuring I'm used to. This is a simple one. I have some that are bigger horror stories, but this is current, and to be honest, I wouldn't mind getting some advice on it. I'm playing a D&D game where one of the players just doesn't seem to be able to pay attention to anything that's going on. We play in person, so we know it's not because he's doing anything else or anything like that. This player won't even be on his phone, just seems to tune out of the game. I accidentally got a bit snappy with him one session. I know that wasn't great of me. We were all discussing a problem, and at some point, Rogue asked what he thought. He said he didn't know what was going on. They recapped for him some of what we had discussed. We moved on to solutions without him adding anything, so I asked him if he was going to help with what he was doing. He said he didn't know what was going on, so I gave him the simple, easy, vital task. There was a thing we couldn't let go of with tragic consequences if we did, and it's difficult for me to do anything while holding it, so I told him to hold on to this item. He repeated that he didn't know what was going on, despite being present for all of it, and Rogue having just explained it again to him. I gave him a quicker recap and ended with, "Hold this, do not let go," before my character walked away from him. After all of us were busy doing our part, the DM asked him what he wanted to do. He said he'd let go of the thing. "My friend, my companion, we have fought together across many a battlefield, and I now task you with this most dire of quests. This is a great staff of power. Should it fall, the entirety of the Boiling Isles may be in danger. You must hold on to it with your life. Do not drop this staff. Do you understand? Do you understand? Say it! Good enough. Here you are. I go now to gather our men for warfare. The new world must prepare."
A few moments later.
Shit. That was the entire action. It wasn't even so he could do anything else. The DM seemed confused and asked, what for? And he said it was because he didn't know what was going on. I asked him out of character if he was serious, and when he looked at me confused, I told him that if he wasn't going to help, at least try not to get in our way. He was only in charge of holding the thing, so hold the thing. He did not mind me speaking to him like that at all, actually. At least it seems so. I was a little embarrassed about it, but he just took the command, followed it like that, was a normal way for someone to speak to him, and went back to being a plant at our table. I'm gonna be honest, for the most part, we just started disregarding the possibility of having anything to add with this guy. The dude is in another world, and by the way, we are playing sober. We know he likes the game. Dude, how can you tell? Hey, Crispy number 4, how are you enjoying the game? Hello? Oh, They're enjoying it, right?
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
He's always the most excited to play and was the most active in character creation, plotting with everyone and building interesting connections. But every week, we sit at that table and watch this guy just take off on his own little adventure inside his head as he sits there, not being a part of our Dungeons and Dragons game. It's just a really awkward situation. And while the other players got really in her head about her theory, he resents us for not letting him play, as he doesn't try to at all himself. We have tried giving him time, we have tried double checking things with him, we have tried giving him the spotlight or space he needs in case he preferred that. We give him multiple recaps. Dude, nothing is working. The guy just completely checks out, and he's loving it, apparently. I would say good for him, but when somebody's checking out from the game and not participating and just being a plant at the table, as you say, it does affect everyone else. It's awkward for people to sit there with somebody who doesn't seem to care. This guy can say all he wants, like, oh, I'm having a good time, I'm really enjoying it, but unless you put forward some effort, no one cares. I highly doubt the DM appreciates this guy completely checking out of the game and occasionally getting into people's way, with the example of the item being dropped being a particularly frustrating one from my point of view. If I had to deal with this, I'm just saying I would not be pleased. Again, I'm happy that this guy's having fun, but the way he acts at the table does affect everyone else there. If you guys don't mind, then that's great, but it seems like you do, and that means it's a conversation worth having. So, for some quick background, this is an online table of close friends. The game has been going for over 2 years and is currently still running, and the world is fully homebrewed by our lovely Dungeon Master. The horror is about backstory elements, specifically because, intentionally or not, I feel as though I got a bit shafted backstory-wise, and I don't know what to do with this feeling. Something our DM has decided to do is try and incorporate elements of player character backstory into our games. Our wizard and rogue, they're agents of a criminal organization. Our warlock's patron, one of my favorite NPCs, kept in touch and gave them assignments, and there's definitely something going on with fighter and paladin, that kind of thing. The character I made at the start of the game was admittedly simple, but I tried to give them potential plot hooks. I made them this ex-pirate captain who narrowly survived a mutiny. They weren't a very good captain, as they were appointed not for leadership abilities, but because they ended up being the only person who their former captain and mentor trusted towards the end of his life. That's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen. No, not really, dude. I think he just was the default. They're angry at the crew for throwing them out of the one and only home they ever knew, and ashamed at themselves for not being what the captain, their mentor, thought they could be. So they swore they'd get revenge against their traitorous crew and take back their ship once they were strong enough to pull it off. I made revenge and reclaiming their lost ship a big deal to them, as it's their driving motivation. I didn't actively seek them out at first because I wanted to support the party, and I was ready to be patient. It wasn't as big as a crime network or a patron, but eventually I started hearing breadcrumbs of information about my character's ship, about how the new captain has been amassing wealth and power in my character's absence. I could just feel that this was building to a big quest, and so imagine my excitement when I heard that our next mission was taking us into an area where my character's ship was recently spotted. And just imagine my disappointment when we happened upon the ship, wrecked to bits and littered with the mutilated bodies of its crew. It's funny because just finished Cyberpunk recently, and Johnny Silverhand in that game is an NPC who has this exact problem. He wakes up in a world where most of the people he wants to kill are unfortunately already dead. Difference here is he's an NPC, not the player character. Though I guess the player character also has that problem, so... It turns out my character ship was destroyed to set up our next combat encounter, which was a big tie-in to our warlock story and the dramatic end of his arc. Oh! The DM punched you in the gut and then kicked you while you were down! Micah Bell and his crew have had this coming for a long time. It's about time I take my revenge. They've killed too many people, stolen too much. But at last, I've got him in my... What the hell? Is he dead? Yes. It would seem so. Your pirate crew have perished, completely off screen. Well, what killed him? Yeah, I would recognize the handiwork of this beast anywhere. Saburo, my old friend.
a demon ripped straight out of hell. Okay, wait, your arch nemesis. Hold on, yeah, it's mine. Anyway, yeah, Saburo, a demon ripped straight out of hell. This beast rips out the souls of those he kills and uses them to create some kind of engram. Wait, my story's just wrapped up like that? Yeah, but it's over now, okay? Let's focus on this. Anyway, this is a vital plot. We must drop everything that we're doing right now to focus
This doesn't really seem very fair.
above every other.
I had some hope when it was mentioned that it looked like not all of my ship's crew were dead, but that hope died out when the group universally agreed not to go to the place where they would most likely be because it was dangerous, and we had no reason to be there. So we moved on. I tried to play my character as frustrated after having been robbed of their revenge, but honestly, I felt robbed. Why even set up how dangerous my character's rivals were going to be if it wasn't going anywhere? Our wizard rogue got cool story beats and connection to things that they didn't even include in their backstory. The DM added it for them, and I got to have my backstory turned into the narrative equivalent of one of those corpses you see right before a boss fight. I love my friends. I love their characters and the stories they go on. I love my DM and the world they create, but this really killed the love I had for that character. I ended up retiring them and switching to a new one. I miss the old group dynamic and getting to reference past adventures in character, but I just don't know what to do with my pirate character. It didn't help that I picked Ranger and was feeling real useless in combat, but honestly, I just had a lot of feelings attached to them and wanted to move forward and try again. I haven't talked about this with anyone. I know you say open and honest communication is king, but this is an old problem, and I don't want to make my DM feel bad about what they've created. I also don't want to be a spotlight hog. Overall, I've had a great experience with this group, and I don't want to make a fuss over what's really just bonus content. But yeah, thanks for reading. Hey dude, this is a big D&D campaign, I'm assuming. It sounds long form, and in those kind of things, your backstory is not just bonus content, it is a key part of the game. I mean, what, is the Warlock's backstory? They spend so much time on bonus content? No, then it should be the same for you. You are both players, and you gave the DM something to work with. I mean, seriously, that revenge backstory, yeah, sure, might be quote-unquote simple, but there's a lot that you could do with that revenge backstory. If anything, the fact that it's kind of simple is great for a dungeon master because something simple like that can be easily added. I mean, it's a revenge plot. How hard could it be? I do think it is worth bringing up. I think it's worth telling your dungeon master, like, hey, this is a problem for me. I want to be more included. And ask your DM why they decided to kill off your character's big bad evil guy without you even knowing about it. It's not spotlight hogging if you just want to be in the spotlight for a couple seconds. You have gotten no spotlight so far, and yeah, that sucks. I don't think you should be upset with your group or anything like that, obviously. It seems like you're all good friends, and if you're having fun, then that's awesome. But bring this up to them, and if they really are your friends, they'll want to listen to you. Love watching your videos. Thanks, by the way. I figured it'd be worth sharing my own D&D horror story. Luckily, it's not that bad of a story, and the problem player didn't keep it going that long. Still, it's absurd what they try to get away with. Back when I was in college, I had recently gotten into D&D through some clubs on campus and had begun learning how to DM. I'd already run some one-shots and a failed attempt at an online campaign. Now a horror story just bit off more than I could chew. But this would be my first IRL campaign. This game was 5th edition, but was set in the Pokemon universe, with some homebrew to make it work. Well, happy to see I'm back in familiar territory. Yeah, I haven't watched Pokemon either. I did watch this one Jaden Animations video, though. That makes me an expert, right? We've got some homebrew elements to make it work. It certainly wasn't the most balanced thing when it came to combat, but that's not what the players joined for anyways. While I did indulge in darker storytelling, it was still based around Pokemon and the fun wholesomeness that came with it. Initially, the party consisted of about 4 people, all but one of whom I knew before the game. Things were going very well, and everyone was having a great time seeing Pokemon and exploring the world I had created. Then, our problem player asked to join. Let's call her Kelly. She was fairly new to the game, so I met her beforehand to help make her character. When I asked her what she wanted to make her character like, she said, I just wanted to be me, like literally me, just transformed into a gnome and transported into the game. Okay, not that crazy. It's not uncommon for people to want to just play themselves the first time. She creates a druid artificer and jumps in. The first sessions went fine. The world was set in a vague past era, so anything advanced was strange and usually required some magic since electricity was still a new invention. Kelly, however, insisted she knew everything about the modern day and said her goal was to bring this world into the industrial age using her crazy high intelligence and rolled with her artificer to create machines. Her first big project was DNA splicer, saying she wanted to experiment with giving herself Pokemon traits. Let's go check the artificer infusion, shall we?
Oh, yeah, it's not in here. Shocker.
At the time, this was all background as the party was starting to get their first major plot hook, investigating Team Rocket. Okay, back up. I've seen a little Pokemon. I don't know how these goofs are ever gonna stand up to, like, these people. Like, I'm sorry, Team Rocket, but I don't think this is gonna end great for you. Before the second session, she met with me privately to discuss her character. She wanted to be secretly evil. I was a bit nervous at first, especially as she explained that her goal was to essentially become the villain of the world with minions and an evil cult following her. I told her it didn't sound like she would fit in the game, and she should look elsewhere. But she quickly backpedaled, saying that this would just be a background goal. She doesn't expect that she would actually reach it. I hesitantly told her that if she wanted to be secretly evil, she would need to roleplay out acting in line with the party to throw them off. In hindsight, I should have never allowed this at all, but I was inexperienced and afraid of kicking anyone out of my games. I was a people pleaser. I wanted to make everybody in my game happy.
And you think that makes you unique? Get out of here, man.
Not long after this agreement, she pulled a stunt that honestly should have gotten her kicked out of the group. While on watch while the party was camping, someone spotted a Rattata sneaking food out of someone's bag and raised the alarm to knock it out. As soon as it fainted, Kelly suddenly pounced on it and started doing brain surgery on it, waking up the still alive creature as it screamed in pain. When that did not stop her, the party barbarian pulled her off the creature and was forced to finish it off since it was too injured to survive, and the healer of the party wasn't present that session. They called her out, she just shrugged and said, "My character is a sociopath." Huh. What does that say about her? Probably that she's one of those kids who took a psych test in 9th grade. Yeah, see? These tests are bogus. I'm a nice guy. When they explained what happened to the rest of the party when everybody next regrouped, they called her evil, to which she said, "How could you possibly know that?" and claimed they were metagaming.
Hey, man, I just wanted to point out that I think your character is kind of evil. Me? Evil? That's impossible. I have been nothing but a saint this entire adventure. Dude, you literally slaughtered the entire village of Ravenwood for a handful of loot. That's taken a little bit out of context. You brutally sacrificed our ranger's dinosaur companion for a +1 bonus to attack for 1 day. I feel like that's a bit of an exaggeration. You are committing murder right now as we speak. Look. Everybody has a different perspective. Everyone has their own stuff that they're going through. And all of these situations have plausible explanations. Yeah, the explanation being that you are evil!
Anyway, after this, she started to show up less and less at the games, citing schoolwork for why she couldn't attend, but would work with me privately about her character working on building up her evil cult, and when she did show up, if the party was leaving the town where she was setting up shop, she would just not join them and leave the session early to allow her character to keep working on her cult. During this time, she was wanting to make more and more advanced tech, which she had to make from scratch and by memory. She claimed that since she could do it in real life, and her character was her IRL, then her character could also do it. I would only allow many of her requests if it took a certain amount of time and resources to do it, which ended up meaning just more sessions where she would skip to have her character focus on the task. Eventually, the party had picked up a small quest, find and defeat a pirate that had been pillaging the port town ships. Right before sailing off to find the pirate, Kelly tells me that she wanted to trade out her druid levels for warlock levels, and asked who the evilest Pokemon was for her to make contact with. I told her that this patron would want her soul, which she would gladly give. This change was roleplayed in-game, and she still didn't understand how the party knew she was evil.
You are performing a blood sacrifice for an evil god. Okay, you do not know that Baal, Lord of Murder, is an evil god, alright? This is not on me. Dude, you're literally making a deal with me right in front of...
Thou once again hast found a completely incompetent child to do thy bidding. Perhaps thy followers reflect the intelligence of thyself.
Shut up.
It finally came to a head when she asked me to make a chainsaw. I told her how much time it would take, 3 months, and she insisted she could do it in a week. I refused to budge because no one knows how to build a chainsaw and engine from scratch, from memory, without having to go through some trial and error first. She finally decided that the game wasn't for her and said she would leave the campaign. Since they were in the middle of combat at the time, the location we played at was very strict about when we had to leave, so we were to conclude the fight over the next session. I told her that she could post in the Discord chat how she left the session. She then proceeded to post a self-righteous monologue about how the gods were stifling her talents and saw no reason to continue in this world before taking the gun she had made prior to the... Great. Now I gotta put a content warning. Thank you, lady. The group was shocked by this melodramatic event, especially when I explained to them that it was all over a chainsaw. They decided to retcon it through the barbarian, choosing to make the character now deathly afraid of guns. Kelly then later ran her own campaign, one where the players were forced to make characters that were based on themselves. I talked to one of her players once they had joined a one-shot of mine, and they said they were having fun. The campaign seemed to have fizzled out at some point, and I never saw Kelly at club meetings ever again. Thanks for reading. Well, it just shows to Goya that sometimes people can run good games even if they are absolutely garbage players. Yeah, Kelly had a serious problem with main character syndrome. Not just main character syndrome from like a character standpoint, but main character syndrome from like a person standpoint. When most people play a character as just themselves, they're doing it for the sake of simplicity. You're used to being yourself, and therefore it's going to be easier to roleplay. And you know what? That's perfectly cool with me. However, I feel like Kelly was doing it as a way to buff up her own ego. Like, my character is doing all this super cool stuff, and therefore I can also do all that stuff because I am my character. Build a chainsaw in a week, easy peasy. Expert inventor, simple as pie. It's just not a good mentality to have, and a quick way to make people really dislike you, especially with that self-righteous monologue at the end. Oof, big red flag there. But hey, if people are enjoying her game, I mean, I'm not gonna take it away from them. Alright, that's a wrap. If you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out our Tabletop Tavern Tip series. Apparently, we're almost at 100 episodes. It's linked in the cards. And while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down into the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment, "She was her character," to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories, you can send them directly to us. There's an email down in the description down below. Send your stories our way for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.
I don't think this even counts as an evil act. How the heck can this not count as an evil act? This is absolutely disgusting. You know, you are taking things brutally out of context, okay? Ball is not necessarily an